Okay, so today I want to talk because there's a few people I talk to that struggle with FOMO, struggle with not cutting their losers. I know we talked about it a few times already, and we'll keep talking about it until everyone's doing much better at it because it's really the most important thing. It's not about making money, it's about not losing money. So if you go into trading trying to make money, you'll be losing money. It's very counterintuitive, but you cannot trade to make money. And the problem is when we've lost a lot of money trading and doing silly things, we're in it to get that money back. And we're like, we got to make it back. And then we don't think straight. We rush into trades, we see something happen, and then we don't take the time to think about it. And then we get in, or we miss a move, and then because we missed it, we're like, okay, it's going to keep going. And then we oversize, we get in just as it turns, and then we're holding on to it, hoping it would come back. And then before we know it, we're just over trading and we're losing a lot of money. And I mean, we've all done it. So I think there's the one of the biggest. Okay, so there's a few things that I think is very important. Number one is your entry, because if you have a better entry, it's going to be less of a problem. The problem is when we chase things and we try and get in, we usually overpay and we're underwater quickly. Okay, so the entry needs to be better, and I'll talk about that in more detail here in a little bit. The next thing is, you cutting your losers. So it's so critical that you never add to losers. So the problem is, like I say, many times we get into a trade too quickly, and we'll talk about better entries, okay, because that's part of that. But once we're in, we should never add to losers, because when we do that, position gets bigger, and then we end up with, we could have lost only $200, but now we're losing $2,000 because you keep adding to it and you stop thinking and you're hoping it's going to come back. So the more you add to it, the harder it's going to get to cut those losers. So you want to make sure that you never add to losers, not even getting another contract that's a little bit closer to the money. Okay, if you have a loser, it's going to be easier for you to cut it if you never add to it. And yes, sometimes you're going to add to a loser and it will come back and you'll get out and break even. But that rarely happens, and now you're building bad habits. So you have to be very, very black and white. You cannot add to losers. You only want to add to winners. So I think what you want to do is you want to start off with smaller trades, okay? And when you're 10% in the money, I mean, you could take profit, but that would be a good time to add. But once your mind is messed up, you're going to keep making mistakes. So you have to take a step back. You have to stop trading. You have to trade smaller and build back that confidence. The worst thing you can do is to increase your position size, okay? And that's what we usually do because we want to win that money back. The other thing to consider as well is that if you lost money on a Tesla trade, don't trade it again for the rest of the day, because if you trade that same ticker again, you're going to try again to make that money back. So you're going to consciously try and okay now, and then you're gonna want to upsize it because you see that negative number next to Tesla, and you're like, okay, I wanna get that to zero at least, and then you change direction, and then you're wrong again, and you change direction again, and you're wrong again. So I think a good idea is not to trade something that didn't work out during that day. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And I know it's easy to say, but so what questions do you have? What challenges do you have?
So these are the exact same challenges. I mean, going into a trade and then hoping that it will come back, not being able to cut, and sometimes you follow a strategy and it works. You think, oh, next time it's going to work, but it doesn't. So then again, building the bad habits. Um,
That's right. You have to
and
be very black and white. You have to. It's like you cannot add to losers. Period. Because if you do, sometimes it works, and then you have a bad habit that's going to be very hard to get rid of.
yeah, yeah.
The other thing that works for some people too is the timer. So they pick around 5 minutes, and then if the trade's not working out by that time, they just cut it regardless. Um,
Yeah.
the other thing that works well as well is any trade you take, you immediately have a stop loss. Even if it's a 50% stop loss, I don't care. Make it something big. But that way it takes all of the emotion out of it. And yes, to lose 50%, that's a lot of money. But the fact is that many times you lose 100% because you're unable to cut it. You know, so start off with that ridiculous stop loss. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like it is so important. When I don't do that, I lose money. Okay, because I still make those same mistakes sometimes, and it's just like it's ridiculous that we keep making the same mistakes. Where
Mhm.
I mean, the solutions are really simple. If you just follow your plan, it's just not gonna happen. So let's talk about better entries. Okay, so take a look at my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so this is a layout that I shared a screenshot of,
Yeah.
and I also included a link, so you can click on the link, and it should open up, and you should see exactly what I'm seeing. In
Um,
theory.
Actually, sorry, I don't see your screen. I meant to say that I'm watching your screen, but I don't see anything on it.
Oh, you know what? Because I'm not sharing it. Thank you. I'm recording it, but I'm not. Okay, so I want to. Yeah, I think it's that one. Okay, do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So let me quickly talk about it. So you're in the bottom left corner. I have VIX on the
Yeah.
1 minute chart. Okay. And I have Heiken Ashi candles enabled here at the top. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what's nice about the Heiken Ashi is that you could see a nice trend change. So if I go to regular candles, you'll see it looks way more choppy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go to Heiken Ashi, it will smooth that out. So you could see exactly where the trend changes on it. Okay. Um, and then I have Trend Trader on here,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have the I don't have the levels on here because I don't care as much about the levels on the VIX, and then I have Megaspace 8 on there, and with just the standard tickers on it. Okay, then on the right I have NQ, which is basically the futures for QQQ. And then I have ES top right, and so I could watch them. And then the top left, that's the thing I want to trade. So that might be Tesla or SPX or something else. And I just want to show you how really today. I mean, I've tried. So I'm trying to, when there's going to be a big move, I want to notify you guys of that, because like yesterday and the day before we had some good ones. But without that, I just want to show you how you could use this chart and get better entries. Okay, because that's the other part of cutting your losers, because when you have better entries you have to do less of it. So watch my mouse here on the VIX chart and you'll see the line, and as I move it around you'll see a line on the top charts, on all the charts form. And I'm sure you guys are used to this with TradingView, where it will show the line on all of the charts. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so take a look here at VIX. Okay, and I'm just starting here randomly, so you can see here at 11:22 there was a blue triangle. So obviously when VIX goes down, what happens to SPX? Okay, so you can see here at 11:22 blue triangle, put signal. You can see red bottom band. We could see all of the red candles. So at the top, at the same time, I'm able to see a yellow triangle, and I was able to get into your SPX calls right here even before I saw the yellow triangle on SPX. And you could also, so I was able to play that. And then when you get to the bottom, obviously you don't know it's the bottom. But then as soon as I got these 2 exclamation points, I knew to get out. And then I got counter trend triangle. So right here I knew, okay, it was time to get out of my calls, which I did. Okay. Then now I have basically green candles on VIX. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get into puts. So now I get into puts. I don't even have a put signal on SPY yet. So I get into puts, and I ride it from the top all the way down. So as I approach VWAP partial profit, but I still have VIX going here, so I'm like, okay. So I'm in here, and then here I get a red triangle at the top. Okay, I get out of my puts. Okay. So now I'm getting ready to see what it's doing. Is it gonna turn or not? Okay, so I see a clear turn. You see here, I'm above the. So when I'm above the trend dots, that's a good thing. When I'm below the trend dots, it's like, oh, we're going down on VIX, and then when we go down on VIX, we go up. So I go in. I'm like, okay, blue triangle. So I get back into calls. So I go get here. Green triangle, so I'm out. Okay, it goes. Now at this point I get this. So this is, so obviously you can do that scalping directly on the chart, but when you use the VIX chart like this, especially with Icon Ashi enabled, especially with Trend Trader, so every trade I took today has been spot on. I didn't make a ton of money on all of them, but the point is that every trade I took today worked out based on this. Okay.
Hey, Greg, you guys, real quick question.
Sure.
How did you set up the trading viewer when you're scrolling on one chart? It automatically scrolls on the other.
Well, so if you right click on it, let's see, I think it's under settings. If we go to settings, let's see, do you remember? It's somewhere here. Let me see. Oh no, it is think is it? Oh, it's right there. So if you go to your layout on the top,
Huh.
and you click on that icon where you can select your different layouts, it's right there. You can say crosshair, and you can turn it on, and then it will synchronize it on all of the charts.
Nice.
Yep. So you can sync the symbols, the interval, the time, date range, but that's the one you want. And then
So I could do crosshair with just time mix.
yeah, so then basically it will sync on all the charts. And in fact, if you have the TradingView app, you have multiple windows, it will synchronize between all the windows as well, which is nice.
Fantastic.
Yep. Um,
Awesome. Thank you for this.
oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and I'm not sure if you heard everything I could tell you in a meeting, but it is recorded, so I'll put it online.
Please do. I'll take a look at it after this.
Yep.
I have a meeting to get to, but I will definitely get it.
Yep. So good question. So you could see here again, so we have, look at this. So we were going down on VIX, we're getting green triangles. So this is the 1 minute chart. This top one is a 2 minute chart, and then these guys on the right are 10-minute charts. And again, if you use the link that I shared, you'll be able to do that. But look at this. So we get counter trend triangles. And I did change the logic of those triangles a little bit, I think this morning's update. So make sure you update the indicator to get the best results. But you can see here, so we get these, and guess what? This is saying we'll probably go up. Just like on this red candle, look at this, that's a red candle, and we get a red candle, green triangle. So this is foreshadowing. This is saying, hey man, it looks like we might be turning. So at this point, if you're deep in the money, longer, or you can say, okay, I just want to
On it.
take my money and run. Just like where we get
Still
down.
working.
I'm not sure what Siri is doing now. Siri, please stop. These computers. I should just disable that feature because I never use Siri on my laptop. Anyways, so you see this green triangle here on VIX, and guess what? Look at the top chart on SPX. We're turning. Okay. So play a little bit. Take a look at this setup. Now, I prefer to just trade SPX, but because the VIX is made for SPX, okay, because they work together. That's how it's built. So if you're going to trade something like AMD, now it gets a little bit more complicated because they don't follow each other that tightly. But then obviously we talked about the Megaspace and all the other indicators, so you can see like AMD's higher time frames are just they're just broken. So this is not the time to get into calls. Okay, so if I look at Megaspaces, we can see here who looks the best for calls. It's very choppy right now. I look at this Apple, obviously, so I look at that Apple as the best. Sure, if you want to play calls, and you go to
Okay,
Apple.
I found this on the web for is there a Sharpie right now, but if Apple obviously...
Sharpie.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I'll look at it later. It's very annoying. Siri, stop. Seriously. Okay. Is there a Sharpie on that? Anyways, so you can see, so the bottom line is you have to get better at knowing why you're getting into a trade, okay? Because what happens is you're like, okay, I don't want to miss this. And that's usually why you cannot cut losers, because you say, I cannot miss this. Then you overpay, then you're immediately losing money, and then you want to make it up. Where if you just have if you look at it and you spend time on it and you trade when you can focus and not be interrupted, you're gonna have much less of these problems. So it's very connected. I mean, the getting rushing into a trade and not being able to cut. I mean, do you agree with that? At least that's my experience.
Yeah, no, definitely, if you have been looking at the chart and you've been waiting for the perfect setup, and once you see the setup and you enter it, in that trade, you have planned it, you know what's going to happen, and you've waited for it. But it's just that when you randomly sort of, FOMO into a trade, that's when things go south. And then I realized that every time, I FOMO into a trade, it goes in the other direction. And then it becomes
Exactly.
hard. Yeah, and then it becomes hard to cut. The moment it goes like well past 20% or whatnot, then it's so hard to cut, and you end up swinging and whatnot. It's crazy.
That's right. Never swing. Yeah. So I mean, so so the other thing you should consider too is just before you take any trade, post your trade in the chat
Yeah.
group. Okay. And there's many reasons for it. But number one is it's gonna force you to think about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because if you say I'm trading this and here's why, okay, you have to think about it.
Yeah.
Number two, people will give you feedback, and then you're like, okay. Well, I mean, not always, because we might not be in front of the keyboard, but just the fact that you thought about it
Yeah.
is already gonna make a big difference. Because when you take a trade and you don't even spend a couple of minutes to think about it, you're gonna run into this problem. And I'm talking from experience. When I take a trade without thinking through it, most of the time it's a loser. So at least you want to look at Trend Trader. What is it saying? What's the EMA cloud saying? What's the time frame saying? Like, I mean, look. So I mean, look at Apple. You could see, and this margin percentage doesn't look right. I'm gonna have to fix that. That's obviously broken. But I mean, look how quickly we found a good setup by just looking at this. Now we're looking and we're seeing Google's looking good. I mean, so if I'm gonna go back, let's do this exercise. So I'm gonna replay. I'm gonna move back in time on Apple. Because then, and this is what you want to do afterwards, okay? And you want to get in the practice. So now we're gonna see what Apple looked like at 9:54, and this is why I don't trade the open unless Megaspace says everything's moving green or red and it's a strong movement. It is just not worth it because it also adds to the whole FOMO problem because you're okay. I got yeah, and it's like okay, what? And when you do that at the open, you're setting your whole mind mentality for the rest of the day. So I don't like trading the open. I mean, I'm learning a lot from Ripster, and he's really amazing at doing it. But he doesn't get into those FOMO states. So I do it so I can learn from him, and he's pretty good at like, okay, now we're bouncing, now this, now that. But it's very dangerous to trade the open when you're not a consistent trader yet. So you definitely want to try and avoid it. And then you wait until 10. So now we're close to 10. And you can see how choppy Apple is. So it's like, no, there's no reason to trade any of this. So let's go and do the playback. So we can see, I just want to set the playback speed there to 1. So let's take a look at how long it takes for the time frames to clean up. Okay.
Yeah.
And
In the morning, when Ripster calls out, like, the setups, and, let's say, for example, Tesla's breaking support, and, Meta's strong this morning, like, of course, like he gives out his levels and whatnot. So do you look at that? Like this morning, everything was sort of choppy, but Meta was strong. I didn't take the trade, but did you? Like, what would your thoughts be around that?
No, I don't trade the open. It unless, like I said, unless mega spaces show after 3 minutes,
Green.
if it shows everything is green and all the time frames are good on everything, then I'll trade the thing that looked that's strongest. Okay,
Yeah.
and if that might be if Ripsters say Tesla is, so if mega spaces, if everything is not blood red or green, if it's not all the same color, I don't trade the open. It's too fast, it's too risky, it messes my mind up for the rest of the day, and then it's easier for me to do these FOMO trades. So I just don't do it. So when he said it was strong, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Because the thing is, at the open, it might be strong for 2 minutes and then it's weak. So just the fact that it's strong right now is just not good enough for me at open. It just moves too fast.
Yeah.
I'm not fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
But if mega spaces, if it says everything's green or everything's red, then it's really an easy trade. That doesn't happen often, but when that happens, I trade the open.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I don't. Okay. So we look at Apple. So you can see here, now we're at 1016.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see, so it went up, it rejected. We have this warning saying it's probably going to turn, even before it turns. But you can see 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minutes. So everything's starting to look good. We get 20 minutes of super trend on the 2 minute chart. So now it's like, okay, this is starting to look good. But we need a retest. Okay. So now, just because this looks good is not good enough reason to get in. Okay, so we have to. I need to enable my extended hours on the chart. Otherwise, we don't get to see everything. Okay, I was wondering where my pre-market levels are, but you see, I was using SPX on it, and you don't have pre-market stuff on it.
Question: how did you add the Mancini levels?
Oh, so the Mancini levels, there's a chart that I share. So Mancini, he tweets out these levels,
Mm-hmm.
and then we post it. Then I go and read it, and I decipher it. So yeah, so let's quickly talk about that, and there's a chart that I shared with the Mancini levels that's only on the ES. I mean, obviously you can modify it for SPX. But so I go, and actually that's a very good question. So I put it in. So then if I use ES anywhere, it's going to show those levels as well. Because what you do is you see here on this bar here. So if you click on this icon here, it will take any new drawings will be replicated to the other stuff. So you want to click on this thing before you add levels, and then it will be on all the ES charts. So the way I do it is, so I put these dashed lines, and so any pivot levels that he mentions, I put in orange. So like if we go above it, we're likely to go up. So if he says it's a must-hold level, then it's obviously a pivot level. If we go below it, we're probably gonna go down. Then if we describe something as resistance, then I put it as red. If it's support, I put it in green. And then if we break through the resistance, then the white lines are the target. So if we break through this, then Mancini's target to the upside. And if we break below this green one, the targets to the bottom side. And if there's multiple targets, I will put them all in with white lines.
I see.
Okay, so yeah, so that's how I do that. So I just do that by hand. And so if you take this thing or the other thing, link, and you open it up, it will automatically update those levels when I update them. So when I modify the levels, it will change on your charts as well. So if you use my layouts, you don't have to think about it. You don't even have to read those tweets. You know, it will just magically show you. And as long as you know what the different colors mean, then you know how to play them.
Oh, awesome. So, the is that why the auction levels indicator? What I realize is that when I have them on in the pre-market, as soon as the market opens, they don't work anymore. I have to reload them.
That's TradingView sometimes when, if you hover over them and it has a red exclamation point, that's just because, it says sometimes that it took too long, or so maybe if you have a slower computer, that might happen. I don't have that problem. Sometimes I do, but it's just, that's unfortunately a TradingView thing. There's multiple ways to fix that when that happens. I mean, they will tell you to remove the indicator and add it back in. That's too much work for me. The easier thing, let me just get my battery here. Because just get the cable. So the easier thing to do is you can hit refresh on the browser if you want. The other thing you could do is you could just change your time frame. So if you're on a chart, if you go to a 5 minute or 2, just on a time frame, and then it will load and it will be fine. The third option is if you go like on this thing. So I have my setup the way I like it. Then you go to this indicator templates, and then I say save, and then you give it a name. Okay, and then you just save it as that name. Then what you do is on that name, you click on the star next to it. Okay, then it's gonna add it here to the top. So now if I have a problem where it stops working, and this is the easiest way for me, is like you just go and you click on that, and it will just reload that setup, and then it will work immediately.
I see.
So that's the quickest way of fixing it when it stops working, is you make your setup, you save it, you put it in your favorites, and then you can quickly switch between them.
All right, I'll try that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's annoying, but the problem is just because we do so much in these indicators, so they have all these limits. Where if you do too much, they slow you down a little bit. But it's a good tool, so I'm not complaining. But so let's go back to Apple. So we're gonna do that replay,
Right.
and we're gonna go to. Like I said, I like to wait for until after 10, because that's where I find the best trades. Okay, so now I have Apple. I have the pre-market levels. So again, your rule should be no calls unless you're above pre-market high. No puts unless you're below pre-market low. Okay, because again, it's like, figure out what your rules are. I mean, I've documented it in Discord under the strategy, and you don't have to use that. You can modify it, but they work, and I don't think people use it, so I don't really update it anymore. But it's really important that you know that you're very strict with how you trade. Okay, so now, I mean, so here's a call signal. I'm not going to take it. Okay. There's a put. I'm not going to take it. It's at the open, and I would take it if Megaspaces told me that everything's moving together. But here I got a call signal, but I'm not above pre-market high, so I'm not going to take it. It is at 10 o'clock, so the time of day is good. But it's risky. If I'm going to take it now, sometimes I like to, like, if I'm at the bottom band and I have a yellow triangle after 10 a.m., those usually work out pretty well. If you take after 10 a.m., you're close to the lower band or the upper band, and it turns. So but you play those small, and then you can add when you go above VWAP and above pre-market high. But yeah, so let's keep playing back. So just watch the higher time frames, and you can see, like, you can see the time frame. I mean, look how beautiful it is. So now we're getting to the upper band. So we know when we get to the upper band, we could reject. I mean, we have a beautiful super trend that kicked in here. This call was after the VWAP. So I mean, so this actually, with the VWAP, it gives it better odds. I mean, we're still below a red EMA cloud. Yeah. So I mean, so you really should go through the list. And I created, if you go to checklist in Discord, there's a list, everything you should look at, and you should take that list and you should make it shorter so that it works for you, and you should go down each thing. Okay, are we above the VWAP? What's the EMA cloud? I mean, so all these things, you should go and do that, and you're gonna take better trades. So we get in here. The time frames look good, above VWAP. We have a super trend there, which is the 2 minute. And then, so when do you get in? I mean, you could get in, you could have got in here with one contract, and then add more when you get a green super trend. And then when we go above pre-market high, you can add more. So I mean, these are all things you could do. But you can see how we pretty quickly, I mean, could tell that Apple was going to do well by just watching the time frames. And I mean, and these time frames are exactly what you have in megaspaces. So I mean, so I don't have to look at all these tickers to know where the plays are. I just basically sit here and, and obviously now Apple is breaking down based on megaspaces. But I mean, we sat here when we started this talk. I'm like, Apple looks good. Let's go look at it, But I mean, if we had megaspaces open at 10:15, we would have seen the beautiful structure already. So I mean, so I don't have to go and hunt for a trade. I don't have to go FOMO. I can sit here and say, okay, what's my best call play if the market is strong? What's my best put play if the market breaks down? By just simply looking at megaspaces. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So really, I mean, that's how you want to go about it. It's just like, it's like a lion hunting, just sitting there. And actually, they're not that great. But I mean, the point is, it's like a cat hunting. You're just going to sit there and you're going to wait and you're going to observe. And then you're going to explain to us what trade you want to take. I mean, like, look at this. Tesla. This is telling me Tesla is the best puts play right now. Go there, look. And I mean, this, so when Tesla, when it break below the previous day low, I mean, so you have all these things that happen. So if you go to Discord and, you go and just look at, Tesla will be right there. So you can see when, so if you think you want to play a certain ticker, it can notify you. And then we also have, so this one, so you can see here at 11:59, we got Tesla puts. Okay. And so this one is based on the
Tesla very weak, guys. Tesla, there's a lot of selling, high volume selling.
COHR trading at day highs.
If Tesla can't hold this 250, Tesla is going lower. No long there, guys. Let it go. Let it settle. It's a short right now, but don't chase the short anyways. Great guidance by Suri on the floor.
So, yeah, it's funny that we just talked
One
about
thing I want to you should see as per our system. Can somebody tell me like what happened on to Tesla? Of course, we have the level, but what was our system saying?
Let's listen
If
to him
somebody is
quickly.
watching Tesla.
Where's your charts? I'm just gonna refresh him so we get his charts. Or not.
Yeah. So if you see, so 256, which was the level which Suri was mentioning, but at the 256, at the 256, there was also 34 and 50 EMA, right? Every day we see that if it's a bearish trend, if it can't push over 34.50, if you're short, you hold short till
General
then.
Motors is looking to market in good faith with the UAW to reach an agreement.
I'm not
as
sure why we
quickly as
don't see his
possible.
Yeah,
charts.
I'm not short or anything, but I'm just trying to tell you those who are short or like what to look for.
General Motors said today's strike escalation of the UAW completed necessary. We have now
Okay, and that was actually
UAW.
great timing
Contingency plans for various
because
scenarios, and we are prepared to do what is best for business and customers and dealers.
just gonna
GM says
quickly
we'll continue to follow
mute
the
him.
good faith with the union to reach an agreement.
So when you look at his chart, he's saying, hey, you know, here we rejected the 34.48. He uses 34.50, but it's the same thing. He's like, this is how we knew to short Tesla. Guess what? This channel here, that's exactly what it does. So the code looks at the chart and it says if you reject the 34.48, then I'm gonna let you know in this rocket channel. Okay, so and again, you have to, when you get the rocket notification, you want to go and look at the chart and make sure that it's, you know, because it might reject it and then it might turn around. So you cannot take these as guaranteed trades. I mean, nothing in life is guaranteed, but this is exactly why Tesla came in here at 11:59. And so when you look at where's 11:59 on this chart, so it's right here. So you can see right here, and so I also updated it so that when this happened, now the put or call signal will include the rocket. So the rocket previously was when it interacted with VWAP. Now I use it when it rejects the EMA 3448 cloud. So this is how you're gonna get better entries. Okay. And that's the whole discussion here today is how do you cut your losers, which means you need better entries. How do you get better entries? You're gonna watch this rocket channel. So you're gonna right click on it. You can say notification settings all. So what I do is I right click on the alerts category and then I say notification, nothing. Okay, because I don't want to be notified of everything. Then I go to the specific channels I want to hear and I say notification, all messages. Okay. And, you know, it might be, a little bit too much, but this is where you're going to get your good entries. So you 11:59 a.m. Let the trade comes to you. Okay. So 11:59 a.m. it's like Tesla put. Okay, so then I go and I say, okay, let's look at the Tesla chart. So we're right here. And we're like, okay, I just rejected the EMA clouds. It's red, everything's bearish. Okay, I'm at the VWAP. Okay, time to get in. So this is how you're gonna get better entries. To get in now, now you would be chasing it. But if you're
Yeah.
watching that, I mean, look at this beautiful entry. You don't even have to think about it. And so I think this is going to be a game changer for everyone that's having that's chasing things. Is just don't chase it. Just go sit. Just go wait. And when you get those notifications, then go look at it and say, okay, does the chart look good? And then you can play it. But it's going to give you better probability trades without having to chase things, because you would have been in at this point and you would have, it would have been just an amazing trade.
Right. So if we go the other day, if it goes above, if we go the other way, so if a candle crosses or is above the EMA clouds, then the call with the moon is rocket signal.
That's right. So yeah. So then it would be a Tesla call with the rocket. So you can see here at 12:33 on the ES, we had calls. So let's go and look at, so on the ES 12:33. So this is where we. So that's the 3448 clouds that we bounce off. So that's why it was calls to the upside. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously we went there and then we turned around. Because, when you get close to these upper and lower bands, you should expect direction change. So that's, unless there's a trend. I mean, you can see how we touch the bottom band, we go up, we touch the top one, bottom one, top one, bottom one. So if you just get calls at the bottom band and puts at the top band, most of the time you're going to make money. But I mean, if you're going to play SPX, you're just going to use the strategy that I just showed you. It's like, again, while we were talking, okay, look at this. It's beautiful. Here we are. We talked about how we saw these triangles, and then now we're going down. And here, now, green, 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 green. So, you could have got in at this point and just sit there, and it would have gone. You're just playing the VIX, okay? You just I mean, it's easy. I mean, so it's like, so if you have better entries, you're gonna have much less of these problems where you rush into trades and you cannot cut them. So I just showed you two great ways to get better trades. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so they work for me. Okay. They probably will work for you, but try them out. If they don't work, then don't use them. But find a consistent strategy. I mean, so if you go here to our strategies play, at strategies and education, here's our strategy that I documented. Okay, this is how it works. This is what we do. Go read it. Then go to the checklist before you take any trade. These are the things you should be looking at. Okay, so it's all there. And when the market is choppy, use the time to learn these strategies. Okay, go put notifications on this. This is, I mean, I just showed you how you would have made a ton of money just by focusing on this one channel. I mean, we had Netflix puts at 9:36 a.m. Let's go look at that. I mean, I'm just giving you more examples here, but 9:30. So it was basically pretty much at the open, 9:36. Look at that, beautiful. Okay, and you can. So when you see these on the chart, that's exactly when that notification was sent. So this happens pretty much at the same time. So you can see here we rejected the 3448 EMA cloud. I gave a signal, but we didn't travel far, and then we went up and we retested. So you might have stopped out on that one, but then the very next one worked beautifully, you know. So so you got in here, stopped out, then you got another one, and then, you know, so I mean, so the fact is, you know, and I think like here you had a good put. I mean, it's like sometimes it's not worth playing the same thing twice, you know, because you already had the best move. So you get the put here on Netflix, and then you move on to the next thing. But yeah, so when you see a rocket here, that's a signal right after you rejected those EMA clouds. So so when you see that, that's also, you know, a consideration to get in. Again, nothing's guaranteed, but I think the easiest play is the SPY or SPX with the VIX. I think that's where, you know, I mean, and obviously we missed this trade because we were talking, but I mean, the education is really important so that you can go and implement it. And just start small, trade small. You know, I wouldn't use a paper account because then there's none of the emotional things. It's paper account trading is so easy because you don't have the emotional aspects. You really need to practice with a real account. Just keep it small. Always have a stop loss. You know, think about it. So these are ideas. I don't know if you have other ideas or questions or suggestions that might help other people. Was there something you
I
wanted to
think
add?
that there's a lot to take away from here. I think it's just going back and, you know, reviewing the trades and making sure that for a little bit, maybe writing down the plays that come to mind on the chat, and hopefully, you know, get a feedback or something like that to begin with. That will build confidence, I believe. And then only do those trades, not FOMOing and go into other things. I think I'm going to try that for next week, and just stick to the rules, and discipline is more important. That's what it is, I think.
Exactly.
And not hope, like, you know, if market has gone down so much, can it go more? Can it go lower? Like, I mean, always fighting the trend is something that I always think, like, you know. But on the upside, yes, because there is this bearish sentiment of the CPI and the Fed and whatnot, breakouts might not be good and things might not work out that way, you know. So keeping the whole sentiment, market sentiment in mind, and playing the strategies, I think, along with this indicator, like everything makes sense when I'm not in a trade. Yes, this signal came, and why didn't I end up taking the trade? Why didn't I FOMO into something else? Because once you take a bad trade, the whole focus sort of gets dragged towards that, and then you miss a lot of other opportunities.
Exactly. That's really the key that I forgot to mention again, is that when you're in a bad trade and you're not able to cut it, what happens is you're not seeing the other amazing trades, and so now you're losing twice. You know, you're losing money on a bad trade, and you're really missing out on good trades.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important. But like I say, if you get into better trades, like with this VIX setup here, you can see where it changes. That's where you want to get in, not now. I mean, like, so that's warning signal says it looks like we're turning around. Okay. And so you can see it happens before we turn around, but it's just like, okay, I'm seeing something that you're not seeing, and look, there's a faded green triangle, 2 exclamation points. So it's like saying, okay, time to lock in some profits. Okay. So I mean, so you have everything here. So if you just But usually we're like, we see it at the top, then it gets to the VWAP, and we're like, okay, we're missing a trade. We should get in now, and then right about now we get in, and then it turns around. So that's the problem, is that you end up getting in too late because you waited too long, and then next time you're like, okay, I'm gonna FOMO sooner, and then you lose again. But if you use these strategies, if you use that channel, because we rejected the 48 EMA clouds, I mean, these things are going to help you get in way sooner and do much better. So, and here you see VIX looks like it's going to keep going. So when you see the green triangle, you're going to lock in some profits. But you're not going to go play the other side until you see more confirmation, because right now, look at Megaspaces, everything's red. Okay, so this, but again, you don't want to get in now because it's like you missed it. We missed it because we were talking. Okay, and that's fine. Okay, but now is not the time to get in. Like up here, actually, this is when we started talking, where I'm like, look at this. It's like, okay, now we're above. I mean, and so when we started talking, we said, look at this. This is, according to this, VIX is going up. This is coming down. Okay. So, and if you get in there, look how you would be holding runners and doing so well. I mean, and now you can make the 10x money instead of, just taking $100 in profit.
Yeah.
Because that's the other problem too, is like, you grab that $100, you feel good, and then, but when it comes to your losers, man, you have way too much patience with them and too little patience with the winners.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you, on the name of your template, there's a sharing checkbox, so you put that on and then you copy the link. So that's the link I shared with you guys. I'm just gonna put this
wait, everyone can hear me?
in chat again.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the 2.7, the $3 million orders, I was very bearish in the morning. They bought it at 151 per contract. It's now at 166 per contract. Not a big move, but they bought deep in the money. Obviously, they knew something in markets. There was a little bit of a drawdown on their puts from 159. I think it went down to 150s. But it's now moved the other way. This is just a learning example. Pair up the technicals, the clouds, and then watch the flow.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm sorry that you missed this trade, but you can never know.
I'm not sure if I was even gonna write that train on, anyways, because today is not one of the best days, as I told you yesterday, right? And swinging things and losing and being deep red, so not one of the best days. But anyways, I hope for, good week next week. I'm gonna take all of this in and I'm gonna study, and we'll install this template and do like a fresh start with a more disciplined approach.
Yes, and I would recommend that you start with this VIX and SPX strategy and play that and see how that works for you, because it's much simpler. And then
Okay, let's see if we can get our target. We are almost close to our target on QQQ, 359.30s. We are almost close on our target on SPY and QQQ.
so obviously, if you get to a target, it might bounce at that point, or it could keep going.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So you want to take profit when you approach.
Yeah. So Tesla, the buyer
targets.
came at 249.50. So that's where the buyer came up. Still heavy Tesla. Now if they can hold 250, look at the level 2 tape. If you see the bidders at 250, that means they're gonna try to push. Doesn't mean you have to long with that 250 because it's a C setup long, FYI.
You see the
Because
Mancini
it's a
levels here as
250
well.
psych level, and
I
it
think-
can bounce.
think I
Maybe
might
it
have
can
moved
give
it
you a
by
dollar and a half scalp, something like that.
Sometimes I move these levels by accident. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, so now we're approaching this level down there, and then we might break below it. But looks like we're bouncing off pre-market low.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So good luck, and don't be. Go ahead.
So my question, Rick, at this point, even though the trend trader has a red background, and yes, we're bouncing, we might bounce, and VIX has just dropped a little, you would take calls at this point?
No, it's too dangerous. I mean, this is not the time to take calls.
Yeah.
I mean, because like here,
PLPC.
I mean, this in the morning, there was no trend yet, so you could play mean reversion. But this was such a strong move. This could turn into a trend.
So anybody remember that's the resistance on the QQQ that we were trying to break all day, 361.50.
So this
So
could,
when you start a short versus a resistance, it's a B minus setup. But once the trend breaks, if the trend breaks, then it starts to become a B plus.
yeah. So
So
it
your
could,
job as a trader is to try to figure out, is your reward more than the risk? Is it worth the risk taking that trade? And you grade that setup. Because when we trade against the trend, we are hoping that trend changes. And we are using the resistance as our guide.
yeah. So this might turn into a downtrend for the rest of today. I mean, so if you look at, and actually I should. One thing that's missing here are volume. There it is. Yeah, so you can see that so there was strong volume there. We're below the VWAP. I mean, I don't think it's a good idea
Office of Management Budget says Biden would veto House spending bill
to
on
take
Homeland
calls when
Security,
we're this
on
much
state
momentum. We're below the VWAP.
Department Foreign Aid.
We're probably
from the White
probably
House
going to go
OMB,
down for the rest of today.
reported by Reuters.
So if there's
Continue to comment
this
on
was
my
probably a
Fed's
good
daily.
balance to get in
It's
on.
unlikely we'll be at
All right, guys.
inflation in 2024.
Hold your puts, guys. Fed
Okay.
is messing it all up. Hold your puts. Tesla is going to fade more. We met our target. Let's go.
White
Okay.
House says Biden would veto
Any other
House
questions before I let you
bill
go?
on Homeland Security.
That's it, I think. Thank you so much, Rick.
Okay, don't FOMO
Thank you, Delhi.
Watch
Thank
VIX.
you.
because now that
All
you
right, guys.
missed,
Tesla going more lows.
now that
Tesla
you missed the
250
trade,
fades.
you're gonna want to FOMO into it, so you have to be really careful. Okay.
All right, guys.
Have a good weekend. And don't be shy
VIX
to
is
ask.
going up. VIX